A mysterious being casts a small white orb onto the earth. The orb first takes on the form of a rock that spends an unmeasured amount of time lying there. One day, an injured white wolf collapses on top of the rock. The rock takes on the form of the now dead wolf and wanders over to an encampment where most of the residents have died except for a cheerful boy. The boy recognizes the wolf and calls out to him as Joanne. The boy packs up food and supplies to travel to a paradise beyond the mountains where he believes the people of his tribe are waiting, after leaving 5 years ago, while making him stay behind to watch the sick and elderly members of the village who eventually died. The two try to follow the trail the tribe left behind, even after the boy suffers an injury to his leg, only to find the remnants of a caravan and multiple gravesides buried in snow. Dejected, the boy heads back home with Joanne, only to eventually succumb to his untreated injury. The boy's final request is for Joanne to remember him forever. With the boy now gone and just an empty shell, the orb takes the form of the boy, and continues its journey in search of new stimulation. Going off into the world to experience those things which the boy wished he could have experienced. The orb now wanders south in the form of the boy it met earlier. Not knowing how to act as a human, the boy dies multiple times from starvation, injury, and being eaten by a bear, but keeps regenerating itself each time. Meanwhile, a nearby village is about to sacrifice a little girl named March to appease a god named Oniguma. However, as the party carries March up the mountain to the altar, her friend Parona creates a diversion, allowing her to escape. As March runs away, she encounters the boy while he regenerates himself, scaring off her pursuers. March ends up feeding the boy multiple fruits, which he devours like a wolf. As the two rest, March has a nightmare about her friend and her baby sister being sacrificed to Oniguma in her place, and decides to wander back to the main road. However, the boy follows her, and March jokingly calls herself his mother. Parona uses a hidden blade to cut her bonds free and escape as a giant bear mauls the retinue watching her, but tumbles over a cliff while escaping the bear herself. Meanwhile, Hayes and the rest of the party escorting March up the mountain finds March as she tries to teach the boy to eat like a human. Hayes carries March up the rest of the way to the altar after feeding her drugged jelly. After tying March to the altar, the giant bear reappears. Assuming the bear is Oniguma, Hayes and her escorts prepare to leave, when Parona rushes in to free March, joined shortly after by the orb in the form of the boy. Hayes decides to stay and watch the spectacle, as Parona is knocked out by the bear, but the boy transforms into a wolf and manages to bite off the bear's face until it bleeds to death. Hayes declares that March, Parona, and the mysterious wolf can be spared if they follow her to the nation of Yanome. The girls accept the offer, while the wolf finally utters the words that March tried to teach the boy earlier, "Thank you." Hayes escorts March, Parona, and the transforming wolf boy, who March named Fusha, on a long ride to Yanome. Hayes lets them eat at various food stands, but soon slips them each sleeping drugs. When they wake up, Fusha is attacked by desperate prisoners who soon find that the boy is immortal, and Fusha learns a new phrase, "It hurts." Fusha transforms into a wolf to escape, but is shot by Yanome with a poisoned arrow. March tends to Fusha's wounds, and using the arrow stuck inside Fusha, Parona comes up with a plan to take a trophy from the bear's hide, escape the prison to Nanana, and use it to prove that they no longer need to sacrifice anyone to Oniguma. After Fusha and March are caught digging their way to the bear, Hayes forces March to take care of the bear. Despite her efforts, the bear succumbs to its injuries, while Fusha opens itself up to new stimulation. Meanwhile, Parona is forced to launch her makeshift escape plan after falling into a storage shed and being spotted by a guard. Parona escapes with March, Fusha and the Elder but is chased by the villagers from Yanome. When Parona is exposed to the enemy's attack, March sacrifices her life to save Parona. This causes Fusha to transform the bear and take down the enemies. After March dies, Parona gives the news about the death to March's parents. With Yanome soldiers wanting to capture Fusha, Parona convinces him to part ways and escape for sake of them both. Hayes spotted Fusha and she's about to shoot him with an arrow as he is leaving. However, Parona managed to shoot first at her hand. Fusha is shown taking on the form of March's appearance. Fusha continues his journey through the forest, where he meets the elder Pioran once again, who teaches him how to speak after he shows interest in writing. After a while, Fusha is able to slowly speak with the elder, and even tells her his story. They later arrive at Takunaha, a territory currently at war with Yanome, aiming to reach the home of Pioran's lover. While resting, however, they are attacked by a mysterious creature who steals Fusha's memories and therefore his forms. Fusha's creator, the Beholder, appears and tells him to destroy the creature's core in its midsection. After defeating it, the Beholder tells Fusha their mission is to preserve the world and there are creatures who want to impede this objective. In the end, they finally arrive at Pioran's lover's house. Gugu is a child who works in shops to live but is abandoned by his older brother. Shortly afterwards, Gugu nearly dies in a railroad. However, he is saved by Pyron's lover, Boozman, and is forced to wear a mask to hide his wounded face. It is then that Pioran and Fusher reach their restaurant, with the latter interacting with Gugu several times. However, the young boy is conflicted when his crush, Reincarnation, becomes attracted to Fusher, and decides to work in order to appeal to her. After an argument with the Boozman, Gugu leaves the restaurant and tries working in the city. However, he is often the victim of discrimination upon revealing his deformed face to the point of quitting. Meanwhile, Fusher tries cooking and cleaning the restaurant, but upon multiple failures, Pioran convinces him that he needs Gugu's help to learn new skills and then properly become an adult. Gugu struggles to obtain easy money with Reen's ring she gave him, but ultimately gives it up to his missing brother. In the next night, a group of men try to kidnap Gugu to use him as part of a show, but Fusher scares the men by transforming into the bear. As Fusher requests Gugu's help, the two become friends. As Fusher treats a hungry Gugu, the former is taught by the latter about the concept of death and wonder how is it that he can take the form of the dead. Gugu feels relieved when Fusher agrees he will take Gugu's form to remember him if he dies in the same fashion Fusher did with March and the nameless villager. Reen finds the two, and despite initially arguing with Gugu for not showing his face, the two befriend. As Fusher decides to search for Gugu's mask he abandoned to cover his deformed face, the other two decide to return to the restaurant. On their way back, Reen is chased by people hired by her father, but she escapes. After Fusher recovers Gugu's mask, he is attacked by the unknown silhouette again. Although Fusher is defeated by the knockers, Gugu manages to save him thanks to the fire he can throw thanks to Booz's mask. Afterwards, Gugu returns to the restaurant and teaches Fusher how to cook. Gugu then makes peace with his guardian. 4 years later, Fusher becomes glad that he is growing up after his human form grew facial hair. The Beholders reappears to Fusher, telling him to abandon the area, but he denied as Fusher claims he needs Gugu. Owing to her 16th birthday coming soon, Reen is conflicted about being forced to marry another man as 4 years ago a drunken Gugu confessed his love for her. Gugu does not remember such a moment due to the extensive amount of alcohol in his stomach. He is then visited by his long-lost elder brother who wants to apologize for abandoning him, but he is rejected. Nevertheless, he gives back Reen's ring which Gugu treasured much to Reen's shock. As the birthday party comes, Fusher and Gugu visit Reen's mansion. Fusher suggests Gugu confessing his long-time romantic feelings for Reen, but he feels inferior to her due to his low status. However, Reen approaches Gugu and both remember the origins of the ring and how Gugu was wounded. The knockers then attack the two teenagers and Fusher is informed of this by the Beholder. Fusher is able to protect all civilians from the knockers but is unable to defeat them and the area is destroyed. Now wounded, the immortal being returns to his late villager's youthful form. Gugu and Reen go to the area, but it collapses and the former uses his extraordinary strength to protect the latter. This causes Fusher to realize Gugu dies as he takes his appearance and uses all his strength to defeat the enemy which escapes to the west. As she recovers, Reen tries to find Gugu but Fusher takes on his form and lies that Gugu will not return as Fusher embarks on a journey alone to avoid more casualties. As Reen reflects on the mutual love she has towards Gugu, she tells her father that the man she is in love with is dead. Fusher contacts the Beholder and realizes that he had forgotten young March's existence in the previous battle. Pioran finds him and decides to accompany him on his journey despite Fusher's early disapproval. The two are captured into an island filled with prisoners and Fusher embarks on a quest to save his good friend and traveling companion Pioran. Fusher enters into a competition between criminals to achieve his goal of freeing Pioran. In the first round, Fusher is not able to enter the arena after being tackled by a man. As most warriors kill each other, Fusher enters the arena when there is only one surviving. Fusher's regeneration skills when being attacked by his enemy result in him becoming the winner when his rival is scared. In the second round, Fusher keeps reluctant about killing and transforms into Parona to win. However, Fusher is shocked at this, having realized that Parona must be dead if he became her. As Fusher wonders what caused Parona's death, a 13-year-old girl named Tanari claims that there are good people who become criminals, having had the same experience when remembering her father. Fusher tries to rescue Pioran but the Beholder is against this and tells him to follow Parona's legacy. In the next round, Fusher proves his superiority as a fighter but his rival refuses to give up. This causes the arena to attack the two fighters, disappointed by the lack of deaths. After the battle from which Fusher is once again victorious, he clashes with Tanari as he does not approve the idea of killing. As the villagers become antagonistic with Fusher, the knockers appear. This causes a temporary team-up between all villagers and Fusher. As the knockers are defeated, Fusher is glad to have recovered his memories of March and befriends Tanari for having tried to help him, despite their previous clashes. Fusher continues bonding with the children though Tanari keeps her ambitions hidden, having been shocked by her father's death years ago in the arena. In March's form, Fusher is able to sneak in Pyron's prison and tells her he will save her. In the final match, Fusher faces none other than Hayes, who confesses that it was she who had killed Parona. This enrages Fusher, but he is defeated by her after injecting a drug in his neck that leaves him unconscious, therefore making her the new leader of Janata Island, freely capable of doing what she desires with Fusher. A victorious and thoroughly obsessed Hayes informs the shocked crowd by fabricating a tale about how she was the one who had discovered Fusher 4 years ago in a feral state and that it was from her that he learned human speech as well as autonomy and sentience. She then entrusts the future of Janata Island to Tanari, while she takes Fusher to a hidden bedroom where she begins to rape him. Tanari, Mia, Upa and the rest come to try and save their immortal friend, but end up being caught by the guards who now follow Hayes. Hayes orders her and her friends to leave or die at her hands. She is surprised and impressed when Fusher, who threatens to kill her at knife point, tells her that the boy she was assaulting was just an empty shell, having managed to transfer his conscious sense of self into the form of the mole he had attained earlier. He agrees to allow Hayes to do with him as she pleases, only if she releases Tanari and the others. Hayes agrees to his terms and allows Tanari, her friends, and the Jananda children to escape by ship but drugs them unconscious. Tanari awakes and sets off by rowboat to rescue Fusher, who is also drugged and is being held prisoner in a well for Hayes to continue where she had left off. Tanari attempts to rescue Fusher from the clutches Hayes alone, but ends up encountering some knockers. As the mindless monsters attack all of Janata Island, she and Fusher are forced to fight the monsters who have possessed the dead. Most of Tonari's friends try to help their friend but are killed in the process. He knockers now have power over the deceased, and Tanari and Fusher have difficulty in recognizing their dearest departed friends. As Fusher cowers in sorrow and fear, an obsessed Hayes forces him to make decision to save Tanari from the warrior woman's lethal wrath to negotiate with Fusher, who promises to hear her out but only if she releases Tanari. Owing to her unusual resistance to certain toxins and poisons, Tanari prepares herself to die and take Hayes with her. However, Fusher saves both her and Hayes from the burning pit of knocker-infected corpses and drugs the latter with her own morning glory poison. Fusher then takes Hayes unchained in a boat and bids farewell to Tanari, who is now ruling the place. As Hayes wakes up, she proclaims Fusher her devoted love towards him, which angers him. Fusher leaves her the boat alone while he takes another one in order to return to civilization.